You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cricket Podcast, where we will be talking about Day 3 from England's second test on their tour of the Caribbean. It was a long day where things happened. Not many things, but some things did happen. I am Jack Hope. I'm joined by Max Rowe Brown. How are you doing, Max Rowe Brown?
Hello, Jack Hope. I'm good, thank you. Yeah, I'm glad it's the end of the long day. Celebrating with a nice carbonated alcoholic beverage, and should be good.
And Ross Legg, fresh off his commentary debut. How are you doing, Ross?
Yeah, it was pretty good. David Gow was delightful. It was nice for Sky to have me on.
It's on BT, mate.
Oh, yeah, you know. Yeah, it was great fun, actually, debuting on Guerrilla Cricket. I was very grateful for the opportunity. And I couldn't have picked a duller period of the game to commentate on.
No, but we did get to talk about the Winter Olympics. So,
yeah,
there is that. Max, what are the messages for our listeners?
You should follow us at the Cricket Pod on Twitter and Instagram. You should like and subscribe to this video and our channel, respectively, because that's how you keep in touch with us and all the wonderful things that we do in the cricket world. And we are sponsored by Serious Cricket, as you will be able to see on the banner below us all. And if you head over there, you can get 10% off any cricket equipment with the code TCP22. So you should do that. And also Patreon. I always forget Patreon, the last thing. Patreon.com/cricketpod, where you can support us directly from as little as $4 a month, I believe.
Yeah, that is correct. Which one of you would like to summarise the two things that happened today?
Ross, why don't you do it? Because you had your debut today.
I only watched the half an hour of cricket. I didn't watch the whole. No, I'm only joking. So. Such a joker, aren't I? Such a joker.
It's all right, don't worry. It's not the Ashes.
Hey.
Well, it wasn't like there was. I thought at the start of the day it was promised. There was a bit of promise around the game, wasn't there? There was a bit where England were going to hunt for the wickets. It was all going to go tremendously well, and we started off actually okay, didn't we? There was a couple of wickets that fell, but then England were their own worst enemy. Stokes didn't review was it Blackwood who it didn't look out. That was the issue. Everyone was saying it didn't look out, but the ball hasn't really bounced. It's hit him with his back leg. He's pretty much tried to play it from square leg, and it's really gone quite badly for him. And then somehow everyone's like, nah, he's fine. We've got 3 reviews. We don't want to even risk it on this one. Happy to risk it on other NAF calls, which don't take into consideration the full LBW rule, Amex. But that's just life. And we then saw Blackwood and Brathwaite grind England into the dirt for ages. They had a partnership that lasted over 370 deliveries. They both notched up centuries. There was a bit of handbags between Stokes and Blackwood as the old Marlon Samuels type rivalry, tried to bring that back. And then Dan Lawrence, I'd been saying on the commentary, get him on. Get Dan Lawrence on, he makes things happen.
Old windmill arms.
And lo and behold, the worst leave I've ever seen to see an LBW given, I think.
I think it has to be, doesn't it? It's got to be the worst.
I've never actually seen one like that. I've seen one like padded away outside off stump and it's spinning back and it's hitting the stumps. I've never seen one where he's just like, well, that's a straight delivery. I'm just gonna leave that one.
And it's spin as well. That's the other thing. It's not like you can be forgiven for a momentary lapse of judgment when it's coming at you at 85, 90 miles an hour. Maybe it's jagged back a little bit off the seam and it was a little bit close to off stump for you to be leaving it, or a little bit full or something. But this was just like everyone who's ever seen cricket for about 5 minutes can just say, well, that's going to hit the stumps.
Yeah.
So probably hit that.
Yeah, it was a bit embarrassing, but I mean, if you're walking off with 102 to your name, you're not going to be too embarrassed, are you? Really? It was his second century against England, and Brathwaite
in total.
Brathwaite again was brilliant. Led from the front. He pretty much played Bonner's innings, right? In the first Test match, Bonner played an innings like this. In this one, it's Brathwaite, and they've got a game plan and they're sticking to it. And it's
he's halfway to Barbados' innings at the moment.
Yeah, well batted, both of them. And then Alzari Joseph came in for a bit of a cameo at the end. Not really sure if he understands the concept of a night watchman, but yeah, he's entertaining.
Do you know the last West Indies opener to hit a century that isn't named Craig Brathwaite?
I'm going to say Shandapal.
Oh, I think
A random time he randomly opened.
Max?
No, sorry, don't know.
Chris Henry Gale.
It was Gale. Yeah, I think Brathwaite's got 10 centuries now. Craig Brathwaite 10 times. Then Henry Gale is the next West Indian or the last West Indian opener to notch a century, and we think we've had it bad in the post-Cook era. It's different kettle of fish there. I think the story of the day really is that partnership, though, isn't it? The pitch.
Well, it was the day.
Not exciting, but West Indies started the game in a really bad situation. They finish it with more than 50% chance of not losing, which is quite good, I think, from their point of view. It's been a good few days for Captain's knocks, hasn't it?
But for batters everywhere, you wouldn't want to be a bowler.
Yeah, well, there we go. No, hold on. Didn't Karunaratne get a ton for Sri Lanka? Root, tons up. Brathwaite, tons up. Babar Azam, 196.
Yeah. True leaders of the modern world.
Yeah. And Rohit Sharma got nothing. So, yeah, make that what you will. Were you impressed with the West Indian batting, Max? Or were you bored by it? You can be honest.
Well, I was probably there's probably equal parts bored and impressed because it was quite dull to watch, wasn't it? Let's be honest. But it was equally dull to watch when England were doing it. And for England, you sit there and say, well, they've ground it out, they've batted really well. It's very impressive given all the troubles they've had, etc. And you can only say the same thing about the West Indies. Jermaine Blackwood's, as Ross mentioned on his commentary stint, always comes in for a bit of tap as someone who doesn't do enough to stay on the side until his neck's on the line, and then does enough to stay on the side. And his 100 was perhaps a nice example of that. Who knows? Craig Brathwaite leading from the front, as you said, 337 balls, batted the entire day and a bit more. I mean, it's an amazing effort. Whatever you're playing on, the level of concentration needed to do that was pretty impressive, and he's batted really well. And yeah, basically, they've kept West Indies in a game that they might have been concerned about. But from an England point of view, it is a story of missed chances, isn't it? When you're on a pitch like this that is as unrelenting in its backing for the batsman as it is, you need to grab every chance you can get. And England just didn't quite manage that, bowling people off no balls and failing to understand the LBW rule.
Yeah, that was quite cruel, wasn't it, for Mahmood? Like you saw him with pure elation, first Test wicket, bowling your heart out, and then scuppered by the third umpire, being like, no.
Yeah,
Check
I mean,
it's
not a surprise rule they just came up with.
Yeah, well, I'm not saying it's not. He's not playing Mario Kart. He's not playing Mario Kart. It's just been hit. He's just hit a thing. Is it?
It's no different to having a goal ruled out for offside, is it? By VAR.
No, I don't know. Is it?
Oh yeah, I
don't know. What's the point you're making here, Max?
Well, that's equally devastating, isn't it? You think you've won the game for your team, and then suddenly it's pulled back and the elation's cut short. It's that kind of situation. So
yeah, but it was a nice Yorker.
It's not like they've made up the rule, but it's disappointing because you think you've got something and it's taken away from you by the rules, but nonetheless taken away from you.
Except with VAR, sometimes it's just taken away from you.
Well, that's true. Quite often. In this case, it was correctly taken.
I think we can all agree here that the DRS system usually does
better than VAR.
Yeah. When it doesn't work, we can all be like, "No, the guy got it wrong. He hit the ball." Yeah. it's very clear when there's a mistake. They just make it up. But that's that. Would anyone like to say anything nice about any of the England bowlers or anything bad? Any of the England bowlers, Ross?
I thought England trying to mix it up today. There was a few fielding changes, etc. But again, it was just a bit flat. Like Chris Wokes coming into bowl, you're just not expecting anything, right? Folkes is coming up and just standing, like, I'm going to stand up to you, mate. You're not going to really offer anything. It looks so unthreatening. It's been really quite staggering. And then Jack Leach, again, there was loads of talk on the commentary around the pace that he was bowling.
David Gower really had a bee in his bonnet about that, didn't he?
He really did. And it was one of those things. Once someone mentioned it, everyone then has to talk about it because nothing else is happening. And it's like an echo chamber in the commentary box. But I kind of thought he bowled okay. But again, just bowling, 30 odd over stints or 20 odd over stints that he's having to do is not something he's done for England all that often, and actually having a bit of variety. I think once you get used to Jack Leach, as Brathwaite and Blackwood did, they needed to mix it up a little bit. And Fisher, Mahmood didn't really offer too much of a differential, really. There wasn't too much of a surprise kind of in the pitch. Stokes, again, bowled okay, but looked tired. But then Dan Lawrence, difference maker.
Yeah. What do we think of Fisher and to a lesser extent Mahmood? They're the new guys, Max.
I think Matthew Fisher looks like a competent bowler. He's got a lovely action, and I think on pitches where the ball will do something and swing a bit more, he will be quite dangerous.
Join the queue.
In a game like this, no, and I don't. You don't see him. There wasn't anything there to suggest he's banging on the door behind the list of many other England bowlers, as you say, who offer similar things. What we were crying out for someone to bowl really quickly today, weren't we? And unfortunately, all of those people are now injured.
Jack Leach bowled 44 overs in this innings. He's taken 1 wicket. The pitch does look like it's giving him some assistance. Do England wish that they'd picked Matt Parkinson instead?
Maybe not instead. Maybe pick him as well as.
Who are you ditching? Wokes.
We need Wokes' runs, clearly. But yeah, I don't think I would have picked Fisher. When
Captain
Overton went
hindsight.
down, when Fisher went down, when Overton was ill, I think I would have gone, do you know what? Let's risk playing the spinner.
I suppose the people are expecting the pitch to be better than it was, weren't they? And when it came to picking the side, all the talk was, there's be a bit bouncier, a bit quicker than Antigua. Will be in for something a bit more exciting, and everyone was let down by that. So I think they were probably expecting, something a bit less.
Yeah, but they could just use their eyes, can't they? And they're just ultimately they're not going to get much difference between Fisher and Wokes. Wokes has just gone round the park in the previous Test match, and they're having to play Wokes again. Surely, just try something a little bit different. I'm not saying Parkinson would have run through the team here, but actually, it is a point of difference, and having a leg spinner on a pitch like this could be quite useful.
Maybe they should allow substitutions.
Big Bash style. I think the problem for me with Jack Leach is that he doesn't really do it. He challenges one edge sometimes, doesn't he? There's no, you don't see the one that skids on or pushes on. There's no sort of real overspinner or anything like that. It's all very much trying to plough that line and keep things tight and hope that one does just spin past the outside edge or the batsman does make a mistake and something like that. And it's just there doesn't feel like there's enough guile there to get someone out when the pitch isn't doing it all for you. He's consistently, bowled nicely, kept it tight, but nothing beyond that. No, nothing special.
No,
he's no Akshar Patel, is he?
No. Should we look forward to the next day? Before we wrap this up, I was not going to do a long podcast for this, are we? Well, what do you say? Like Brathwaite batted well, Blackwood batted well. I don't think anyone's going to dispute that. Were they the most exciting innings of all time? No. Did they stir anything inside you? Not really. But they were effective. Did England do anything particularly notable? Again, no. Were any of them heroically shit? Not especially. I thought it was odd when they opened. They got the second new ball and threw it to Jack Leach. So that was a classic. That was a classic big brain move there. Ed Smith was probably sitting at home on his sofa, being like, "Yeah, I want more of that. Get me back involved." Otherwise, though, There's not a lot to stir things in me in this game. We've got to do a whole IPL preview after this. I'm looking forward to that a lot more than talking any more about this match. But will anything good happen tomorrow, Ross?
Well, I think there's definitely going to be a few more wickets that fall. Maybe 2. So there could well be. I'm sorry, Joseph, if he's up there after 3 overs, I'll be very surprised. But I think you just have to take your hat off to the West Indies here, Jack. I think saying that it's a boring day's worth of play is exactly what their game plan was, right? They had to save this test match so they didn't lose it, and that's what they've done. I don't think there's a way that either team wins this unless some freak collapse, which both teams have it in them, but I just can't see that happening at all.
No. Max?
More boring cricket is what we're going to get tomorrow.
Any final word from you before we wrap this up?
Let's hope for a weird meteor strike on the pitch halfway through the night, just to open up a few craters and see something will happen then.
Cool.
With dodgy bounces.
We've got 2 questions. They're both from Tim in the chat. Does this prove that Leach isn't world class, Ross? Ashwin would create something, he says. Yeah,
but I don't think anyone's comparing Jack Leach and Ashwin, are they?
No,
I don't think that's ever in everything.
Tim says that Leach should be as good as Ashwin.
Well, I think Leach is a perfectly fine bowler, but as Max said, he doesn't have the variations, right? He's not. If we compare him to the other left arm spinners that we know and love, like Jadeja, very different. And again, he's never going to lead this bowling attack like I think they believe he's going to. I think regardless of who he comes up against, the opposition, I think he can be blunted. But that's not to say that he's not a good asset for this team. He's probably the best spinner we have right now, and that's why he's playing.
Would Anderson or Broad have made something happen today?
Doubt it.
We definitely would have reviewed that LBW that Stokes didn't go for.
Yeah,
if Broad would have reviewed everything. Yeah. Well, it would have been out of reviews by the time it got there. I think. No, I don't think so. They'd have bowled tight and kept the ball on a string, and it would have been as boring, if not more boring.
In South Africa, Bangladesh won ODI. Apparently it was quite good, and Bangladesh were pretty exciting, but we were commentating on England. So,
well, I think any time a team in the ODIs is hitting over 300, they're doing okay. They're not going to quite hit the 400 marks, but you look at some of their players. Like Liston Das is on a hot streak. He can't stop scoring runs.
He's lit the place up.
Hey.
But
good news for IPL fans. David, the Armada Bad Boys, David Miller hit some runs for once.
Yeah, that's good for him. Right, we're going to wrap up the show. A reminder, seriouscricket.co.uk. Use the code TCP22 for 10% off there. And you should head over to Patreon, and it's a good time to head over to Patreon. And we're about to do our IPL preview show. And as part of the IPL this year, we're going to run a Patreon-exclusive fantasy league. If you want to be part of that, you have to be a Patreon. Plus, you get bonus shows. Plus, you get Q&As. Plus, you get all the IPL data. Plus, you get access to our Discord. All from just £4 a month, or a bit more if you want to be generous. There's 3 of us. Yeah, £4 doesn't divide very equally, does it? So maybe
12 does though.
Yeah, 6 or 12. £600. Now that would be a good.
And what more? Oh, and you can really see what they're paying for with this podcast of us coming on and going, it was a really boring day's worth of cricket.
Numbers.
And then tomorrow's going to be boring as well.
I thought the Patreon pitch there was probably the best bit of the show from my perspective. Let's wrap it up. Thank you very much for coming along. Like, subscribe at the Cricket Pod on Twitter and Instagram. Patreon.com/thecricketpod. We're going to do an IPL preview now, and that'll be good. Bye-bye.